back to the channel, guys. Join me in this episode when I show you how to install a Outback roof console by 4-wheel drive interiors in your Ford Ranger. Okay, so the basic tools you're going to need today is some screwdrivers. You're going to need some small flatheads, a few Phillips. You don't need all these tools, but make sure you've got enough. You're going to need a box cutter or Stanley blade. That'll come at a bit later. And this is the template that you get with the roof console, which you'll need a Stanley blade for. That's to cut the roof lining. You'll have your box of little ancillaries and fixtures. Your mounting brackets, so you've got, this is your rear, that's your front mounting brackets. You're going to need a drill with a 3.2mm drill bit with 20mm sticking out the drill. So just it stops you from going any deeper and going into the actual roof. That'll come into play a bit later. And then your roof console itself. So when it comes out of the box, it is grey in colour. So what I did with mine, because the interior of my Wildtrak is all black, we wanted to felt line this so it can match the roof lining, but the felt that I got was like a sticky back, and it proved to be a little bit more tricky than what it was. So I actually sprayed this, so it actually gave a really nice finish. I used Plasti-Dip, so it gives it a nice texture as well, almost like a leathery feel, which is quite nice. We've taped off all the lights and everything, so it all looked good. And so what it does, so before you mount your roof console in your vehicle, you want to get your CB radio mounted in there. And what I did was I used a foam insert just to close up any gaps, and it's quite simple to install that. So I'll show you guys when we're in the vehicle a bit more closer detail on the actual CB radio and how that's set up, but it's pretty simple. So yeah, so this is the basics you're going to need today. And in terms of the stuff you get with the roof console, it has very detailed instructions, which is very, very helpful. But hopefully this video helps you and gives you a good walkthrough of what to expect if you're looking at getting one of these roof consoles for your vehicle. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Righty. Always plan your installation before you do anything. So previously I had a CB radio which was lower down, and I always knew that I was going to get the Outback roof console at some point. So by installing that CB radio, I left enough slack for the antenna cable to run up the pillar and then head over to the CB radio. So just keep that in mind. Always plan ahead if you can. It just makes things so much easier. Yeah, so that's definitely a top tip. Okay, so what we've got to do to get ready for the installation, because if we're going to run any wiring or power, that's going to have to come through the passenger side door pillar. That's if you have a European vehicle. If you've got an American vehicle where it's the opposite, you might be going up the opposite way. So whatever's easiest for you guys. So we're going to have to remove this. This is just these little rubber bungs just pop out with a screwdriver, and then it's used a Torx head, and then we're going to get rid of the roof handle just to ease off the roof lining, so we can get to the pod and run the cables quite easily. So yeah, so I've got all my goodies, so let's get comfortable and let's get straight into it. Got a trusty little socket set with me, so this thing goes wherever I go. This thing is super useful, so if you've got a truck and you've got a vehicle, it's always good to invest in a little small socket set that's got all the various little bits and pieces in it, such as Phillips heads, flat heads, your Allen key heads, Torx heads, so, and a few sockets, which is a very, very helpful. So we'll be using that today. 30. So the roof handle is a T30 Torx head. It's got two of them. It's got two little plastic caps that you just need to clip up. And just undo those. And the actual roof handle here, I think that's 8mm, an 8mm socket, so we'll get that out. Oh, she's a 6mm. 6mm. That just pops straight off. It's got two little reclining clips to it. So what you'll see is that you'll see a cavity down the passenger side, which is quite good for getting cables up there, which will help us quite a lot. So I think what we'll do is we'll start concentrating getting the center console out. We've got to take this off. Make sure you've got no sunglasses, which I do. Let's get rid of those. Don't want to lose those. Yeah, we've got to get this out, make sure everything's off in the off position, and then we'll be reusing the Bluetooth speaker and putting that back into the new roof console. So what you want to save is the Bluetooth speaker in there. Okay, now that your Bluetooth speaker is out, I've just pre-done this in the foam. So you get two bits of foam. You've got the initial one with a circular cutout, and that's to position your Bluetooth speaker in the desired speaker location. And then you get a secondary piece of foam with a square cutout. Basically what that does is it goes over the speaker on the back end. It just stops that speaker from popping out if you're going over corrugations and rough terrain. Everything tends to rattle and stuff, so that'll hold that in place. So I'll do that in a second, get that stuck down. So there's a nice tight fit, which is quite good. So you just choose your location, whichever you want, and stick that down. Make sure your wiring is pointing up towards the roof and original wiring loom, because you're going to have to reconnect that. As for your CB radio, so what you got to do is, once you position your CB radio in the location you want to, and there's enough sort of play in the front, I think there's about a 15mm or 20mm off stand in the front, so just so I can get to the knobs correctly. Once you position that, obviously mock up loads of preparation first, and then you've got to cut out a square for, you've got sticky pads again that are very similar to this. They're just more longer rectangular squares. You've got to cut up this rubber lining that will fit those squares in, and then you've got, I think, 3 or 4 of those little pads that come with the kits. I think it's 3 actually, and they will help elevate the radio or and just level it out and keep it stuck down. So basically they get stuck down in position, and that'll hold, and then it won't move around. And I suggest that if you guys have a radio like myself, it's slightly smaller than your opening, get yourself some foam inserts that not only closes the gap and keeps all the dirt and stuff out, but it just neatens everything up, and it will provide the radio with some more sort of suspension absorption type of thing, so that'll help that out quite a bit. So in terms of the rest of the wiring, everything is pre-done for you. All you got to do is literally plug and play. So this is for the CB radio, so I left everything connected, so we're going to run all the wiring in the right way, and your ancillaries here come all into account a bit later. So I'm going to stick down this Bluetooth speaker now, and then we're going to start doing the template that's what we're going to do next. Get that mounted to the front. Once the template's done, we're going to do a cutout in the roof, drill a hole for the screws to mount the actual thing to, and then we're going to do wiring, and then we're done. Happy days. Now that the front bracket is installed, we've got to get the template in place. So template goes up against that, and it gives us a good indication of where the holes are going to go to get drilled into the ceiling. So there is a rib on the ceiling that needs to be found, and I think it's up here somewhere. Once we cut out a hole, then it'll expose where that rib is, and that's when we do our little 3.2mm drill bit hole, and then we use obviously the screws provided to mount it. Okay, I mentioned to you guys, this is the front mounting bracket that comes in here, and it utilizes your two mounting points where your front light console used to be in. So what you've got in this location here is a earthing cable, okay, and you've got this 10mm bolt, excuse me, you've got a 10mm bolt basically sticking out, so that kind of just pushes everything off by 5 or 6mm, so it's not really good. It won't make sure, it will basically not be flush with the roof, and that's not what we want. So what I've done is I removed that bolt, and I've put that little connector behind this, and I've fastened it down, and it's hopefully scratched into the back of this, but we'll test that out. So if not, I can always come back, undo this, and then just scratch the paint on the back and make sure it's done. But if you want to do that before you start, scratch the back of the paint off, then at least you know that cable has got a good connection, that earth, a good earth there. So what if you do get screws in the kit for the for this front bracket, but I've just utilized the same sort of Torx head screws. It just saves me, if we ever have to put the light back in, that we don't lose these screws, and they're always here, and I've got spares anyway. So so yeah, that's your front mounting bracket, nice and sturdy. And then that's where we've done the light, and we've got the new sort of hole that we need to cut out. So we're going to do that now, get that cut out, and then get this thing mounted up. Okay, got my Stanley blade. Only make sure that's locked off, it doesn't come out, so just be safe with this. Now all we're going to do is just cut the roof lining, and we're going to expose that rib, and this is where we drill that hole. So let's get this cut. So I tend to do the straight edges first. You'll find that it is quite easy to cut through. It does take a few passes to get through here. The roof lining is quite thick in this area. There we go, we're through now. Right, we're through on the straight edges. I'm just going to cut around the circular bits. Almost through. Through there. There we go. So a nice little cutout there. Nice and simple. I'll show you guys a close-up in a second. Right, this is what you're going to be looking at. That's your roof rib, the central hole. That's what we're going to use the bracket for, to centralize the brackets. So what we want to do is make sure the center hole is central to that existing hole, and then what you've got to do is mark the two outer holes, which I've done there and there, on the roof rib, and it gives you a good sort of it aligns everything nice and straight. So what you want to do is this straight edge at the back here, line that with the roof rib as well, so it keeps everything central and nice and aligned. So from here, this is where you drill your 3.2mm holes either side, and then you use your provided screws, and we're going to screw that straight into the roof rib, and then your two brackets are ready for your roof console to be accepted up into the roof. And I think we move on to the wiring next, and then we're very close to getting it fitted and completed. Righty, we are ready for wiring. I've already tested out the wiring, we'll get to that in a sec. Brackets in place, nice and secure, front, rear. The wiring here at the back is basically when you switch that light off, you basically tuck that up, it's not going to be used anymore. Okay, onto the wiring itself. So the ones you've got, you need to pay attention to is the yellow wires. They will connect into your plug with the black cable. You've got your white wire there that goes into the yellow, and then the red one there goes into your white cable there. This is on the Ranger, so this is how the switching works, and the auto dimming and etc. So I've tested it and it all works nicely. That's what you want to do, is connect all there into there. Lay your roof console on the dash like this, makes it a lot easier. Put your seat right back, and what I've done in the meantime is I've got my CB cable through the roof lining and basically run it up the door pillar. So I've done that, and basically the other way with the power for the CB radio, I've run that the opposite direction. So the only thing we need to connect is the Bluetooth speaker. Once we get up into position, we'll clip that in, and then we can start pulling cables and start neatening everything up. But from here, it is pretty much button everything up and getting everything done. Whew. Builds up the old lactic acid in the arms, but it is doable. You see me do it. It's a bit of a balancing act. So what I did was, for the front, the two holes in the front, so I put a thin screwdriver just so that it seats through one of the holes, so it just locates the console in the right position, and then I got the alternate hole fitted with the screw, so, and then just did the other one. And what I found with these bolts that you do with these internal ones, so when you open this up, push your bolt through and have a look over the top, and you can see where you locate your actual bolt, so which is quite helpful. Righty, now that you're happy with where your radio is going to go, so I'm not 100% happy, so, well, I am, but the fitting of the radio needs to go further deep, or further into the console. So I think ultimately we're going to have to get an elbow connector and get that connected up at a later stage. But for now, it works, and it's quite secure in there. So the only things left to do is put your cable tidies for your handheld transmitter for your radio, and get your transmitter sort of out of the way. So just tucks your cables out of the way, keeps your transmitter up there, which is quite nice. It's freed up the room where my CB radio used to be. So basically what's left now is just to run all your power cables and just tidy up everything and do everything up in reverse. So I'm going to do that quickly, and then I'm going to show you everything, completed install, so you can have a nice close-up of everything, and we'll take it from there. There you go, pretty much done. Everything's wired up, got the radio in. The radio's not perfect. I think what we're ultimately going to do is go for the elbow connector, so this radio can go further back, because it's about 20 or 30 mil that this radio needs to go back. So this edge here needs to be almost flush with the front, and it adds just a nicer finish. Overall, very happy with it. Super easy to install, to be fair. I think without the filming and stuff, it took about, I reckon, about 2 hours. So if you allow 2 hours of installation, you know, you're pretty much well on your way there. So the only thing left to do right at the end is just add your cable tidy, and then just put your little cap in place. So I've left those a different color, just so it gives a contrast to the rest of the roof console. But overall, it looks very smart, and quite happy with everything. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode, and if you've been thinking about getting a roof console, definitely think it's pretty worth it, especially when you get that radio out of those awkward places in your vehicle and put it into a, you know, purposefully built roof console. Then, you know, this is definitely the way to go. And there's so many things you can do to this as well, which will be coming up, you know, obviously future. I'll give you guys updates. But thank you very much for watching and getting this far in the video. And if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. It really helps us grow, you know, gets the content out there. And if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing. And yeah, hopefully I'll bring you some more footage. There is some Jeep stuff we're doing. I've got another project going on, so yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.